Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of council of the town of Diamond Valley. We are here at council chambers, 514 Windsor Avenue on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025 at 5:34. And we'll go right to it in the land acknowledgement. The town of Diamond Valley acknowledges the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes Blackfoot Confederacy, members Siksika, Pakainai, Kainai First Nations, the Stoney Nakoda of Bears Paw, Chiniki, and Wesley First Nations, the Dene Tsuut'ina First Nations, the Métis Region 3, and all those that made Treaty 7 their lands their home, pardon me. So we will go into the agenda. Is there anything in the consent agenda that we'd like to?
Yeah, I wanted to move, just trying to flip open whether it's one or the securities, the letter.
The securities report,
Yeah.
Councillor Holiday. Councillor Holiday would like to make that motion to,
Yeah, remove it to the regular agenda, so their action items.
and you what? Well, 9.2, is that correct?
Sounds good, Chair. Yeah, that's item 2.1 BI.
I have somebody make that motion, please.
And make the motion to accept the consent agenda as amended.
All those in favor? We still
Aye.
have their own Brendan.
You know,
Oh, thanks, Brendan.
Aye.
it might be, you have an option when people are virtually. You can just, their silence signals approval. If they
Oh.
object, they would need to announce that.
Okay,
It might be an easier way to do. I don't know. It's up to you. You'd have to announce that.
does that sound okay to Councillor Thompson and Councillor Kelly?
I didn't quite hear what he was saying.
Councillor Gordon was saying that if you object to any of the motions, that you would state your objection. Other than that, we would say that you have you approve the motion.
I guess I'm okay with that. It's just that it's being videoed, so like,
Yeah, that's why the chair would have to make a declaration like she just did, that would move forward with that type of a vote.
yep.
It's fine with me.
So do we have to go to a vote, Brenna, for that?
No.
No, we're good. Okay. Okay, now we will move in. Are there? Okay, so now we'll move into the adoption of the regular agenda. Councillor Gordon gives us that. All in favor? Motion carried. We will move into closed at 5:37 PM. And
I'll give you the
that
motion to go into closed, Hazel.
Oh, Councillor Kelly gives us a motion to go into closed. All in favor? Motion carried. Go to question period. 5.1, members of the public wishing to ask a question of council, either electronically or in person, will have a maximum of 5 minutes each to present your question. People attending council meetings electronically may email their question or request to have a question during the meeting to email the Legislative Services Department no later than 10 minutes before the start of council. Please put question period in the subject line and include your name, question, and contact information so that a response can be provided. People attending the council meeting in person may request a form to submit their question to Legislative Services no later than 10 minutes before the start of the meeting. And the forms are out back here. And CIO Davey, do we have any questions?
We do, Chair. Just the one that's typed out that was included in the agenda. So I would recommend reading that out, and actually at 10.2, staff reports, Diamond Valley Pool Subsidy Program addresses it, so if council wished, they could pull that report up to 5.2. Motion rising out of question period.
Okay, so as CAO Davy has suggested, we will move this, we will do question period. And then we will move 10.2, the Diamond Valley Pool Subsidy Program, right underneath to 5.3. Would that be correct, or just all
Yeah, 5.2.
leave it as 5.2, pardon me. So we have an email from Maureen Morstaff, and she says, "Hi Barry, this subsidy loss targets low income families. Without it, many are not able to afford all the exercise and fun options the Recreation Center provides year round. Other communities in Foothills belongs to it, and High River also has a good plan. Now we have no options in Diamond Valley except the pool for 3 months. This particularly affects my daughter. She lives, and then we have a Foyt and we have another Foyt 17. Her worker takes her into Okotoks twice a week, once for swimming and once for a gym workout. It has mental and physical benefits for her. Now she has lost this. It is costly for people on low income to be able to enjoy exercise and to socialize without the subsidy. I know cuts always need to be made, but I feel this is a great loss to a vulnerable group. Thank you, Maureen Morstead."
Hey, Chair, maybe I'll turn on to Ms. LeBlanc's available to present the report early. Apologies for putting you on the spot.
No, not at all. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm just having some IT issues, so.
Would you like to come up front here, Maureen? One there, I'm sorry.
Evening, Council, and thank you to the chair. To respond to Ms. Morstad's question, we have had a few inquiries, and this is one that's come forward to council. So as you know, in the past, we had a program previous to the contract with the town of Okotoks, whereby they took over the operations of the programming at the pool. And once with that, it was a certain amount that was allocated, and the eligible communities included the town of Black Diamond when it was through the town of Turner Valley, as well as MD residents, because the county had contributed funding towards the pool, so they were eligible automatically. And for the town of Black Diamond, we don't pay, Turner Valley didn't pay any types of contributions towards the arena, therefore it was something that was just offered free of charge. Going forward to the contract with the town of Okotoks, we automatically were put onto their fee assistance program, which allowed our residents, along with those of the county, to be able to access all of the programming. This included arts and culture and swimming, and something that was much broader than the Dr. Lander pool options that we had. We have always kept approximately the same budget, which is about $2,500 that would go towards subsidies. And that was contributed to the town of Okotoks to put into the amount of money that went towards subsidies. They very generously had topped that up through donations that they received through the Salvage Center as a grant, as well as I believe that they had some anonymous donors. And with that, they offered the program farther afield. Therefore, our residents were able to benefit from that. Going forward to this year and possibly 24, I've not received any confirmation on the amounts that are due for 24. However, the town of Okotoks Council has initiated some direction to its staff saying that any of the programs that are now offered to any outside agencies or municipalities will be paid for by those municipalities as opposed to Okotoks taxpayers. We can certainly appreciate and respect that. Therefore, it significantly affected our program. So we looked at it again, and we had budgeted $2,500, and that's what we'll stick to for the 25 budget. Respecting council wishes to stay target with that budget. And what we'll do is it will be limited to the Dr. Lander pool. So regrettably, yes, families are no longer able to take advantage of the programs that are offered, and facilities that are offered in Okotoks. However, for those that are participating in the pool program in here, we certainly hope that we can assist them. That program is in the development stages because we have to go through an internal screening program. We'll be doing that through same sort of thing as what we do in our FCSS for the volunteer income tax program, to be able to meet the criteria of eligibility as well. And of course, it will all be done confidentially. And then beyond that, we're just working out with Okotoks how that might work, whether it's something that we'll be paying for ahead of time, and then they'll be issuing the passes. But we don't quite know what it looks like. It will not be the full 80% that's currently offered through the town of Okotoks. Possibly there are other options as well for them. We will reach out to organizations such as the Lions Club that may be willing to be able to assist individuals who are truly in need. That's where we're at the moment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon.
Do you have any idea how much that was total with the 2,500 we put in the top up they provided? Do you have that number?
Yes, in the past, we were not charged. It was estimated to be 8,000. This year, it was estimated to be 10,000 or more.
And that gave them access to facilities in Okotoks.
Yes, it did.
Anybody else? Nick, will this subsidy program be available to just Diamond Valley residents, or will some county residents also be allowed to apply?
At the moment, it will be open to Foothills County residents because Foothills County does contribute towards operations of the pool.
And will residents be able to apply for the subsidy to both swim lessons and pool passes?
That's certainly the intent, up to a maximum. So the very early days at the moment is looking like it's probably a 50% maximum subsidy coverage, up to $200 per family.
That sounds fair. That sounds good. And you answered my question on looking for a sponsor also, maybe partnering with Lions Club. So thank you very much. Does anybody else have any questions? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Kelly? Nothing there? I think there's anything else.
Nothing else, Chair?
Okay,
We need a motion. Yeah, thanks for, talking.
thank you very much for your report. Okay. We will go on to the statutory and non-statutory hearing. So we have bylaw 2024-84 to amend the land use bylaw 21-1114. And we have Judy McKenzie with us tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening, administration, and those in the gallery.
Oh, I have to first.
Yeah.
Right there at the top. You can go through all of it.
No, I'm not going to do it as well as Mayor Crane. Okay, I have to
Take
tell
your time.
everybody that first.
That's good.
Public hearings are held pursuant to section 216.4 of the Municipal Government Act to hear representations from the public on proposed bylaws. Okay, so I hereby declare the public hearing for bylaw 2024-84 open at 6:13 p.m. I, Hazel Martin, Deputy Mayor, and am the chairperson for today's hearing. Will council please introduce themselves? And I will start with those that are online, please. Councillor Thompson, can you please introduce yourself?
Heather Thompson, counselor.
Brendan
Councillor
Kelly.
Kelly, can you please
Yeah, Brendan Kelly, counselor.
and I'll start at the end here.
Jonathan Gordon, counselor.
Cindy Holiday, Councillor.
Mayor Barry Crane.
Hazel Martin, Deputy Mayor, and I'll go down here to our administration.
CAO, Adam Davy.
Legislative Services Manager Verna Staples. Finance Over Manager Carrie Florzo.
Community Services and Recreation, Monique LeBlanc.
Craig Beaton, Civic, Operations Manager.
Judy McKenzie, Planning and Development Officer.
Thank you. Now, all discussion by council members, administration, and speakers shall be directed through me as the presiding officer. During the public hearing, we ask that you respect the views of everyone here and allow each person their time to speak without interruption. Each person wishing to speak will be given 5 minutes to make a presentation to council. So I ask that you indicate if you're speaking on your behalf, on behalf of another person or group of persons or an organization. When you're finished speaking, please remain at the front as council may wish to ask you questions. And this hearing will be carried out in an orderly fashion in accordance with the normal parliamentary procedures. So if you wish to come up and speak, please come up here. So, Mr. Davey, can you please confirm whether this public hearing has been advertised and given notice in accordance with the requirements of the Municipal Government Act?
Confirmed, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. McKenzie, can you please present your staff report and explain the purpose of the proposed amendment?
Thank you through the chair. This application is to amend the land use bylaw 21-1114 by redesignating 507 Sunset Boulevard Southwest from its current status of R1 to an R1N. It is the west half of lot 3 and all of lot 4. The R1N lot is the residential detached narrow lot that is being proposed here. So should this be authorized, it would result in a subdivision and splitting this current lot into 2 narrow lots for the R1N to accommodate 2 new principal residences with the possibility of having a accessory suite in each one. So it would essentially take one small, very elderly building that would be demolished, and then we would see the 2 new builds on in the R1N, should that be authorized by council. The parcel is 870.29 meters square, so a significantly larger parcel. The current structure is a slab on grade, 1-story bungalow, estimated build of 1933. According to documents that we have on file, the subject parcel has both access from Sunset Boulevard and also through the rear lane. So that makes it very good possibility for additional vehicle traffic. No development constraints on the parcel. Sanitary services and storm water lines are in Sunset Boulevard. The line was upgraded by the town of Turner Valley back in 2023. The water line is in the rear laneway. As I mentioned previously, should council approve, the applicant is proposing to do the subdivision, the 2 new R1N structures. They'll decide at that time if they're going to include the secondary suites, but that is currently their rough plan of moving forward. Intermediate development plan, it complies with all the policies and the requirements. Municipal Development Plan 04-891, it falls in line with all of those policies as well. The land use bylaw, according to the town, an R1N lot is a minimum parcel size of 405 meters square. And the R1N lot requires 232 meters square for each lot. So it will fit nicely on the land as it is now. As you can read in your package, the Black Diamond Housing Needs Assessment of December of 2022 really shows us how much housing is needed in the town of Diamond Valley. So this supports that those statements and findings as well. It just affords housing products that are made up of, you know, a little higher density. So it's gentle densification in a more established area. And again, I think it will fit nicely on the property. The proposed redesignation has been circulated to the surrounding property owners and our internal and external stakeholders. No objections were received by the town of Diamond Valley. And there is one letter of support you'll see at the end of your package from the applicant themselves, and they are here in the gallery tonight should you have any further questions.
Council may ask questions following the staff report. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Mayor Crane? Oh, I'm sorry. Brenda?
Counselor Kelly would like to ask a question.
Councilor Kelly?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks, Judy, for the report. Fantastic. Well done. Like you mentioned in your report, great piece of property for development like this. I guess my only question is either for you or potentially CEO Davies in regards to, if I heard correctly, that water line was on the driveway. Any concerns there about the development of the parcel? Would that impact anything in the future? That's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Just to clarify, I had said the water line was in the laneway, not the driveway. So all good there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. That's it.
Mayor Crane?
Thank you. Along the same lines, sometimes when we have developments that add in an extra unit, and it's happened in the past where to cut a corner, they tie into one sewer line and they just basically Y it. Do we have anything in place that allows to ensure that each individual resident is tied in separately all the way through? And Carrie just put up her hand.
Want to take it? Sure. Go for it.
So the lot will be subdivided into the two R1N lots. And in our land use bylaw, it does state that each principal residence will be connected separately to town water and sewer. What happens with the accessory suite is that there is one meter, and so it is up to the property owner to handle the water and sewer used by the person in the accessory suite, should they go with an accessory suite.
And as per the request of our civic operations manager, our safety codes contractor will be doing inspections at Foundation to ensure that the water lines are installed properly to the curb stop.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to know.
Councilor Holiday?
No, that's good.
No. Councilor Gordon?
Yeah, on the same lines, is there a way, should the developer choose to have separate meters? Do we allow that on an accessory suite? Can they install a separate meter?
No, because the accessory suite would be within the principal residence. Currently speaking, we only have the 1 meter. That's a possibility we could definitely look into. They'd have to purchase another meter. And I'd have to work through our civic operations manager to see if we want to do that.
Yes. This, correct me if I'm wrong, the secondary suite can be separate from the primary, right? If
It
you're
can
allowed.
be, yes, it can be. Mhm.
That's why I asked.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can be.
Thank you.
I guess my only question is gonna be parking. Like, you can't really actually park in front of the house. Everybody has to park in the back alley.
Parking always has to be on site, Councillor Martin, so that would require 2 parking spaces out for our land use bylaw for the principal residence and 1 for the accessory suite, should they go that route.
So there would be 3 parking spots.
There would be 3 parking spots and that would be on the site plan. So we would not approve a development permit unless that parking was proved to be on site. Street parking is not applicable for that calculation. It must be on site.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any other questions?
No.
Would the applicant like to come up and make a presentation?
I hadn't planned on making a presentation. I included that letter in the application as well. But I'd like to say a couple of words, if I can, and it's off the top of my head, so it's not gonna be anything genius. Don't sell yourself. Thank you.
Judy. Can you please say your name, please?
Yes. As to the question about the parking, there's more than ample place for parking. The rear has 37.5 feet, which will allow you to have 4 parking spots if the need be. I had intended, and I don't know whether this is legal or not. I had intended to put 1 parking spot in the front for the main house. And then the remainder would be for auxiliary parking and a studio suite. Now, the studio suites are, I think, as far as the wishes of the town and using the best of our facilities, I believe the studio suites are the way to go here. And the way we're dealing with it, or the approach we're taking with it is that selling a house like this, we could possibly cater to 2 different types of people. One could be a family with a senior that could come in and help pay for the house and still have a living facility. The other one is for a young family to come in and buy the house and have some way to augment their mortgage payments. And with, so that's really what we're looking at in that vein. I'm not really a big fan of the R1N, mainly because I think the size of the buildings that are allowed on it are too small. The minimums are too small. And I'm certainly not a fan of duplexes because you find over time, even split title duplexes, one neighbor can't get along with the other neighbor, and one gets painted pink, the other one gets painted bright blue. That kind of thing. So that to me, development like that was completely gone. Fourplexes, I'm not a big fan of them either. So this was originally that site was purchased for our own home. And as some of you know, we have our own home down on Calkins. And fate led us to that. But we're trying to do something that's economical for us, as well as will be aesthetic for the neighborhood. I canvassed the neighborhood myself, both sides of the street. I had a lot of positive uptake in that you're going to get rid of that old shack. And I've owned that place since 2008. So you can, so I didn't expect to have any problems with acceptance on it. Okay. And I think that's about all I have to say about that.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your explanation.
Yeah.
Mayor Crane.
Gary, just curious, is the plan then that we would grant the R1N, you have 2 lots and you will build and sell, or?
That's my assent at this point. I'm, like my friends tell me I'm crazy to start something like this at my age. So, but regardless of that, I really don't want to be in the rental business. So, it is a bit of a pain for residential renting. And so to sell is probably
right. Well, as our planner, Ms. Florzone, reminds us, this size lot actually fits just about every subsection of Calgary for every starter home. So there's a lot of beautiful homes that can be built on this size of lot. So it's all in the design.
The other thing is
look forward to.
The other thing is the Diamond Valley or the old Black Diamond Turner Valley is way behind the times. Calgary's had 25-foot infill lot development for as long as I can remember, and they got to put some beautiful homes on them. They were straight up, most of them, but at any rate, so the F1N, in its allowance to use a 25-foot lot is good. Okay,
Excellent. Thanks, Gary.
Anybody else? Anybody else have any more comments? They'd like to see?
Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Davy. Has the town received any written submissions not included in your staff report?
Just the one, Chair, from the
Applicant,
applicant.
okay. So at this point in time of the hearing, I will call upon anyone wishing to speak on the proposed bylaw. Please note that each party wishing to speak will have only one opportunity to do so. If you are speaking and have already provided a written submission, please summarize your concerns. Council members may ask presenters questions for the purpose of clarifying the speaker's comments. Council will not debate this matter during the hearing. The decision regarding whether to grant the bylaw further readings will be dealt with later on the agenda or at a subsequent meeting if deemed necessary. Okay. And then we go on to, at this time, I will ask administration if anyone has registered or signed in to speak to the bylaw.
They have not, Chair.
Okay. At this time, I will ask if anyone present who has not yet spoken would like to speak to the bylaw. Please come forward and state your name for the record. I don't see anybody rushing forward. I guess we'll move on.
Good choice.
I will ask administration to verify that no further written submissions have been received.
Verified.
Okay. Have all speakers been heard? Okay. Does anyone who has previously spoken wish to address any new information provided at this hearing? Okay, council may ask questions following any speaker. Does the applicant have any closing remarks or would they like to answer any questions or concerns brought forward during the hearing? Mr. and Mrs. Ashburn.
Pretty much looked after, don't we?
You're good? Okay. Does administration have any closing remarks or responses to questions or concerns brought forward during the hearing?
None further.
Okay. Is council satisfied that they have obtained sufficient information from the public hearing?
Yeah.
Nothing from anybody online? Okay. So I would like to thank all those who spoke or provided submissions for their comments. Council will take your comments into consideration when deciding on this matter. With that said, I declare the public hearing for bylaw 2024-84 closed at 6:32 p.m. Thank you.
We will decide during the hearing.
Yes. So,
Thanks, Judy.
welcome. Now we will move on to delegations.
None, Chair.
None, okay. Now we will move on to number 8, bylaws and policies. 8.1 bylaw 2024-84 land use bylaw amendment. In brackets bylaw 21-114. Okay, Mayor Crane.
I'll give the council gives bylaw 2024-84 second reading at this time.
Okay. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Not seeing any, motion carried.
I'll give you third reading, that council gives bylaw 2024-84 third reading. And to speak to it, I think it's a great location, great use of that lot. I'm glad that you're not building something as small as could be allowed. That's my one beef with the R1 end, because I think that was way too small. So happy to hear that you're trying to build something that's quality for newcomers to the town. So I fully support. So.
Yeah, I fully support that motion, Councillor Holiday. If I can add to that, this is why a few years back, we really encouraged the accessory suites in our land use bylaw, and how you come forward with providing that, it's ideal. We've heard it time and time again, knocking on doors where some elderly people would love to age in place and having that opportunity. I love your plan, and to echo Councillor Holiday, looking at 1,100 to 1,200 square feet. My daughter lives right across the street from us over here in Country Meadows. She's got 1,006 square foot home, 2 bedrooms up, developed basement. It's an ideal size. So thanks for doing that.
Excellent.
Okay, all those in favor? And anyone opposed? Not seeing any, motion carried. Okay,
Thanks very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for attending. Okay, so we are gonna move on. Pardon me?
Oh, yeah.
They're free to,
You're
you're free
free
to.
to leave.
Oh.
That's what you don't have to say at all. We might be here another hour, no kidding. Who knows? Yeah, you're all done. Okay.
Thank you
Thanks for
again.
attending.
Okay, we are gonna move to item 8.2, policy, council dash 027, customer code of conduct, and I'll turn this over to CAO David.
Thanks, Chair. So, yeah, this one's been in the works now for about 6 months. So what we're looking for here is for council to consider authorizing the proposed new policy, customer code of conduct. So, this is sort of in line with what we're seeing with a lot of municipal best practice now, where unfortunately we are seeing some in civil engagements with certain residents. And this is a direct response to that. So staff have indicated increased levels of concern to the Health and Safety Committee, so this derived from that. This policy and the procedure is built directly off of the Alberta Ombudsman's Office's recommendations. So we did take advice from that office, and this is what we came up with. I thought I'd just give some context too, right? So the intent here is that this would be used very sparingly. For some context, you know, in 2024, we had some 30,000 phone calls, and perhaps maybe 3 or 4 would have initiated this policy. So it's just a fraction of much less than 1%. So it's sort of that gap between your harassment policy, which is more for internal, and matters that can't quite escalate to the RCMP. So it's that sort of muddling middle. To give you an idea too, 2023, there were 2 incidents, and then in 2024, there were 6. So we are seeing a jump, and that's sort of in line with everything across our industry right now. So with that, I'm here for any questions.
Council has any questions for CAO Davey? Councillor Holiday?
I don't really, other than, I just know in Foothill School Division, they've just recently done this and they go to clarify like when you're allowed to hang up and like the warnings and wording of what you're supposed to say beforehand. And I know that's not our purview, that's yours, but I just know there's definitely some training that's, I mean, you guys don't need to put up with garbage and be treated terribly. So I fully support this. So I'm happy to make the motion that council adopt policy council-027 customer code of conduct and confirm that there are no objections to the associated procedure document council-027 managing customer interactions.
Any more comments? Not seeing any? All in favor? Motion carried. Anyone opposed? Not seeing any. Okay. Thank you. I think that's really good forward thinking, Adam. Thanks for bringing this forward. Now we will move on to policy number 8.3, policy OHS-11, harassment and violence prevention.
Thanks, Chair. So, yeah, this came before council last month. And council directed that we made some changes, specifically to look at verbiage around no retaliation. So we went back through our OHS, we've added those. So that's the change we made and presenting it before council.
Mayor Crane?
Again, I love it when I see the red line versions, right? This is fantastic documentation, especially when it comes to the agenda for the public. They can look through, they can see exactly what it is we're changing. So I really appreciate you going through the time to take that into consideration. And I have nothing further to add.
Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, I kind of was the one that initiated a further review on this. And so it's not a hill I'm gonna die on, but would there be a reason we didn't define retaliation in the definition section? Cause I kind of, it's a great statement that you've included in the policy statement, but I'm wondering if we could enhance it with a definition.
Yeah, we probably could share. I don't know if. From health and safety.
Cause I think it talks about later, it's in some directives and whatnot, but, and I'm just thinking from a legal compliance, only because the experience I have where I work. The policy needs to be super strict and clear. Because that's in legal terms, that's what they reflect on, not necessarily external guidelines. So for instance, if there's a situation and the plaintiff or the defendant has a disagreement, the courts will go, what does the policy state? And even in the policy statements, quite often they'll have how often it needs to be reviewed by the team members, not just the CAO. I just feel it would be valuable to have it in there. But like I said, if it needs to be passed tonight, so be it.
Yeah, absolutely, Chair. I think we could add it. If Bernie was saying it's likely in the procedure, should we just get a motion to just add it, or I think it'd be the easiest?
Sure, if council is comfortable, actually, and you want to adopt it tonight, this policy is gonna have to come back in October for the new council to sign off on. This has to be signed off by every council. So we can create that amendment at that time, or we can put it in and adopt it as amended. Or we can bring it back
We could make a motion to amend the policy to include
the addition of,
a definition for retaliation.
yeah, we can do
and
that if you
Move
like.
forward with that.
Sure.
It doesn't have to come back to council, right? Okay, I'll make that motion that we accept the council directs administration to install the harassment and violence prevention policy number OHS-11 to also include a clear definition on retaliation.
All in favor?
I'm just want to clarify, did he say that we're accepting the policy?
Yeah, to
Okay.
instill.
It's in
I use
your
the word
wording.
instill.
Instill? Okay, that's what threw me off.
Okay.
Adopt.
To adopt.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
Probably that would be the better word.
okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Not seeing any? Okay. So now we will move on to 8.1. Request for a letter of support. Pardon me. We'll go on to item number 9, action items, 9.1, request for letter of support. And this has come from me.
That's right, Chair. That we direct the administration to provide a letter.
Yes, so Sheep Creek Arts Council will be hosting some art and culture events in September, and they have asked the town for a letter of support to be included in their grant application. As we had done last year. And so that's why I'm bringing it forward to council tonight. And so I will ask for administration to prepare a letter of support for the Sheep Creek Arts Council as requested.
Perfect.
All in favor?
Hey,
Anyone opposed? Not seeing any? Pardon me, Councillor Thompson?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. Motion carried. Okay, let's move on down to item number 10.
Chair, we had 9.2 we pulled from.
Oh, pardon me. I'm sorry, is the security?
Yep, I just had a quick question on the security thing. This is for Carrie. Can we get a sunset clause? Like, I'm less concerned about giving money back to developers than being able to like keep it ourselves if they don't come back in a certain period of time for securities. Is that
Can you provide additional details on what you mean by sunset clause?
like we have a house builder that doesn't plant his couple of trees or do something, fix his grade how he wanted it. And so they just know they didn't do it and aren't gonna bother doing it, so they never apply to get their securities back. Can we put in a clause that if they haven't come back after 5 years, it just goes to the town, like forfeit?
Yeah, so through the chair.
Yeah.
In the securities policy and procedure that you passed last fall, there is a placeholder for that forfeiture of securities. We're still working through what that might look like. There is some conflicting opinions I've been getting from our lawyers.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're gonna get it good and then bring it to you.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So now we can move on to number 10, staff reports. 10.1, customer service management system. I believe that is,
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And just before I turn it over to Nick, I just want to mention a couple items on this. So internally, this new service center or customer response management system is something that internally we've been working on for the past 6 months. And the whole idea is to increase efficiency and to set standards too. So when residents call, they know who they're talking to, who the question is, we're able to track it and so forth. And I just wanted to give some info, to give you some context. We collected some data, and over 2024, we got about 30,000 calls into the town. So this doesn't include emails, this doesn't include calls to cell phones. So for a town of some 5,500 people, it's about the same volume as my last city, Prince George, with 90,000 people. So it sort of gives you some context to how many calls we get that go through the front desk. And part of this is to say, you know, this is a high call volume and we don't want to have to staff up. As we know through last year's budget, we actually decreased that area. So we're hoping with this new system that it might increase efficiencies for both the town and the customer experience. Maybe with that, I'll just turn it over to Minik for the details.
Councillor Holliday has a
So real quick question on the number. Does that include like robocall, telemarketers, junk calls, or do we have, like, I know once I put the screening, it was so much nicer in my house, but can the town screen against those, or do you have to also you have to answer that, the secretary?
So yes and no. So now with a new automated system, you'll actually have to press numbers. So that'll screen. For that example too, right? I mean, my emails out there, I can get hundreds of emails a week from solicitations. So a lot of this we're trying to cut out, but we need to be able to filter it from the beginning. So we're not answering all of those.
Thank you, through the chair. CAO Davey has really covered a lot of it, but perhaps I'll just highlight a few of the things that we are trying to achieve. So the objective is really to create the efficiencies and be able to maximize our very limited resources. This gives you some indication. It also benchmarks as we go forward in terms of what are we aiming for and what can we get to. And it's not meant by any means to reduce customer service. It is rather to become so hopefully effective and efficient that we're able to do a one and done. So we're able to accept those calls, be able to answer the customer questions, and then hopefully that's something that they can go and take farther. And then we also are building up a more robust and informative website. So those that are comfortable with using it are able to go there and making sure that that is up to date. Now, a reminder, this doesn't include emails, nor does it include mobile phones. So with those, we are looking departmentally at setting up a slightly different triage system so that when people do call in, they can go directly to that department. We're still working with the managers to find out their preferences and modifications to the system. I want to also emphasize that this was home built. So this is one of our own staffers, Laura Bean, that put a lot of time and effort, used her skills in programming to be able to develop something through an Excel spreadsheet, essentially in an Excel program. That would have literally cost tens of thousands of dollars. Now, at some point, we may go to a full CRM if needed. This at the moment does have its limitations, but we're able to track at the moment. We're able to benchmark and we're able to come back to you on what we hope is going to be a quarterly report that will be very obvious that our efforts are really maximizing, again, as I say, a better customer experience, creating the efficiencies, and then working within the staff members that we have at the moment. So that's where we're at currently, and we hope to be able to report and continue with the good news going forward. Any questions?
So roughly, we have right around 2,300 registered voters in our two towns combined. residents. No,
household.
it's actually around 2,300 residents that can vote, if I'm not mistaken. In the federal election, I was, anyway, could be a bit less than that. That's on average 13, if that holds, of those residents who are eligible to vote, each of them contacting the town through phone, email, or just through phone 13 times a year. That's outstanding. I mean, that's phenomenal. That number just blows my mind. Question I do have with the preliminary data, have we identified what the topics are? What's the consistent, why are they calling? Have we identified that?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Gordon, and through the chair. We have not recorded that. We have identified that. So there is a difference. It's mostly anecdotal and observational.
Okay.
So we have fantastic front-end staff, which, by the way, we are spreading some of those skills and training to others so that we actually will have probably 4 people that will be able to answer those questions if the front end is too busy. But nevertheless, we know that there are some of the standard questions that tend to be everything from when is garbage pickup day? Are we at bi-weekly compost pickup to tax and utility questions? And we do know who receives the most calls. And we can certainly break that down, but at the moment, a lot of them are tax and utilities and civic ops to a point, but it tends to be somewhat complaint based. We're trying to get ahead of some of those issues. So if we know that, for example, there's construction of something that might be happening that would be either a curiosity or affect residents, then we try and get on it with communications as soon as possible. I might add to another staff member, Bridget Lacey. It's done an outstanding job of working with TELUS to be able to collect all of this information. So again, this is what's going to form the benchmark that we can now measure against. Through the CMR program, what we will do is as these service requests come forward, we're tracking the type specifically of requests. Therefore, we will know the topic area more formally, if you will, and be able to track it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Nick, do you see a higher volume of calls certain times of the year? Especially, when taxes are due or utilities are due? Like I was looking at your chart there.
I see against July and
Right.
August. That's probably.
Well, thank you. That's an excellent question. And we were scratching our heads a little bit as well. However, we do know that it's camping season and we run a campground. So we do still get quite a few calls for that. Even though we have a great online system, there are still those that are checking and wanting to make sure that their reservations have gone through or they're having trouble. The other thing we're pushing hard for is the eGov and the e-services sign up. And then also it's taxes and utilities.
Okay, and then just my last question, now with going with like with the admin office being closed Friday to Saturday and Sunday, do you find higher volumes of calls on Monday? As opposed to say a Wednesday?
Thanks for the question. I haven't worked that out as yet because this is a fairly new change, but this again, from the amount of voicemails, there are more on a Monday. But Mondays have always been typically busy, all the leftovers from the weekend. What we do find though is, for example, I'm second to pick up the recreational calls. And I'll come back to maybe 15 or 16 calls, but no messages, which means that what they've done is because of the voicemail message ahead of that, which directs people very specifically as to what to do, then they've gone into the website and been able to help themselves. So a lot of that we find is being captured. We also have after hours phone numbers, and you will notice probably within the next few weeks that our whole voicemail is called IVR, sorry, and it will be modified to be even more specific so that people will call, they'll get the first message and then be directed to that department and hopefully either leave a voicemail or be able to connect to the person that they need to.
Sounds like you've done a lot of work.
Been a tremendous amount of work, lots of thought, lots of planning into it, and a great team that's all contributed wonderfully. And we really appreciate also the input that we're getting from the management team. It's really helped a lot.
Thank you for your report. Anybody else have any questions? No?
2 thumbs up there, yeah. Keep it going.
Okay, so
You have a motion needed?
No.
And you did the assistance program?
so
Yeah, 10-2.
We'll go into item 10.3, waste services program changes.
Next year, I'll turn it over to Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Good evening. Through the chair, waste service program. So I introduced a report a month or two ago. Or just before, I can't remember. It was a month or two ago. Surrounding the changes to anticipate around waste services as well as recycling and the EPR program. The EPR being the provincial program that's taking over recycling for the entire province. So we've been able to organize through our service provider, which is Town of Okotoks, as well as the province or Circular Materials, which is the company that's managing the EPR program. And we've been able to organize days for pickup and what that program will look like, scheduling materials, and so on and so forth. The notable changes to the waste services, which is the piece that I promised to bring back to council, are as follows. Garbage collection is moving to bi-weekly pickup as of May 1st, 2025. Now, EPR takes over April 1st, but we're changing the billing cycle accordingly. So even though EPR will kick in, recycling being picked up by Circular Materials, it'll be seamless. You won't notice the difference because it's the same contractor we're currently using. It's going to pick up the recycled materials. The difference is who is responsible for that, managing that material. The billing cycle starts May 1, and residents will see that on that point. Recycling and organics will continue to be collected on a weekly basis, whereas the garbage will become bi-weekly. The EPR program will be operated by Circular Materials, not Okotoks. This is still being worked out with our utility department, our clerk, and myself, trying to figure out what the rates will look like. There's still a lot of unknown factors around what costs may still be, because even though we're losing the direct costs of recycling, we are moving to that bi-weekly process. We don't know what tonnage is going to cost us yet, so we're still sort of unaware of what that may look like come the end of the year as far as costs associated to waste services. We do anticipate optimistically some reduction in that waste tonnage, but it's hard to tell. But most recently, organics has been being trucked to Calgary for several years, and our trucking costs were the primary driver for those expenses. Most recently, just around Christmas time, Aldersyde opened up their facilities, so our trucking costs have already come down. We just don't know. We haven't really been able to figure out what that fully looks like yet. This is probably going to be the largest piece to the changes, which will be the Diamond Valley businesses will no longer be able to participate in the curbside pickup through the town or the EPR program. And the reason we went to that scenario is EPR, their policy, they will not pick up from any businesses. So with that in mind, the reason we wanted to stop picking up services from the businesses is originally it is actually in the bylaw that businesses aren't part of that program. with a caveat in there that exceptions can be made through the CAO. Over the last few decades, a number of acceptances were made. And so we've got a handful of businesses. I'm working on determining which businesses those are and who they are. But those businesses, we fear that by taking away the recycling, all that's going to happen is all that recycle will be generated into the waste, so it's sort of counterproductive. So we want to reset, go back to what our bylaw states, and hopefully reset that culture where recycling is not being thrown into the garbage. Those residents that require an additional waste cart due to medical requirements or size of their family may apply to receive an additional cart. This is a process that we've been doing all along. We'll just extend that through this process. And there are families that just require additional waste. In speaking to the manager of the landfill, he did indicate that waste bags are available at a cost from the waste transfer site. So residents are able to participate by purchasing a bag and then disposing of their extra waste at the transfer site if necessary.
Would that be at the Diamond Valley Transfer Station?
That's correct.
Like where you take the logs
Yep.
and stuff, they have garbage there.
Yeah.
And you can buy them from there.
Yes, from the attendant that works there. $2 a bag.
Who knew?
And in addition, that is also where the electronics recycling drop off is as well.
Councillor Gordon has a question.
Yeah, Craig, I know we touched on this with the businesses being no longer part of the process or part of the program, pardon me. What are we looking at to support some of our senior centers, maybe churches locally? Are we just classifying them as businesses and directing them to use that $2 bag from the transfer station? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, great question. Through the chair, I'll be honest, originally we hadn't considered churches and or the senior center. It was a miss. And I've asked the same question of Okotoks, and they too have sort of struggled with this challenge, as EPR or circular materials has excluded churches and senior centers from, so they're just including them as businesses. So we have no control over the recycling. That will be removed from those buildings at this point. That's their policy. As for waste, I mean, honestly, I would recommend that we continue unilaterally to remove waste services from all businesses, understanding that this may cause some hardships for those businesses, for those church and senior centers, but ultimately at the end of the day, that's going to be made by the council.
Verna has.
Councillor Kelly has his hand up.
Councillor Kelly has a question for you.
Hey, Craig, thanks for the report. Definitely understand from councillor and also, a little bit from the resident side here in regards to, tonnage fees and how that's probably difficult to calculate. I mean, if we take away garbage removal, you would assume, other than the people that can't recycle more or compost more, that garbage is still going to be in the garbage every other week, because that's what they threw out. They're throwing out the same amount. I just briefly wanted to touch on it because you and I had spoken about it a couple months ago when we first started exploring this, was introducing our own system, or reintroducing it, I should say. So getting a truck, having operators, people that are trained to do this kind of thing. And if you could just briefly, very high level, because I know that you and I spoke, it was in the hundreds of thousands. I'd just like that information to be out there to the public. And then I'm sure we're going to hear about this more in May when it actually starts. We're probably going to have people coming to meetings to address some of their discomforts with this. So if you could just briefly touch on, what would a truck cost us, having an operator run that truck, and tippage fees, just again for the camera. Appreciate your time in this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Kelly. Through the chair, great question. And I believe that's something, in hindsight, that's something I recall being asked to provide. So I'll throw back some history here. When we decided to go to the 3 streams of waste service, as well as transfer our service to the town of Okotoks as our contracted supplier, we are in the midst of having to replace a waste truck at that time. And we also had a second waste truck that was struggling with some serious mechanical issues. We had decided at that time it was more cost effective. We went into a pilot program with the town of Okotoks, and we found that the service provided by town of Okotoks was, I have to say, superior to the service that we were able to provide. The town of Okotoks has tracking equipment in their trucks. Prior to Okotoks taking over that service, we struggled with multiple complaints from residents arguing that we didn't pick up their waste services, although our truck operators adamantly admitted that, or agreed that, yes, we have picked it up, but we had no technology in the truck to verify. So the service was being abused. It was costing us a lot of overhead for trucks and maintenance, as well as when the time came with vacation and sick time, struggling to find capable operators for waste services. Move forward to our current situation. A waste service truck with the appropriate tech in it to continue the current service provided would be upwards of $420,000 just for the truck. And that's one truck. If you're looking to supply services for all 3 streams, you'd need at least 2. But ideally, you don't want to mix your waste services in one truck. It requires cleaning between services. And that doesn't include maintenance. It doesn't include required operators. So it would be a costly venture to enter back into this to get started.
Just a little bit of clarification for me, Craig. So the compost and the recycle will be picked up each week. It won't, like the compost won't go to that seasonal schedule.
Through the chair, actually, yes, the schedule will be, the service will remain the same. Weekly recycle and compost, with compost being a seasonal service. So it'll go to that bi-weekly in the winter months.
Okay, and when do you hope to have the new rates available?
We are working on that right now.
So they'll probably start like January.
No, the new rates would be May 1st,
Oh, okay, okay,
assuming that those rates do change.
okay, that sounds good. Mayor Crane.
Not to, drag it on, but so am I to understand businesses like the Walmarts, the Canadian Tires, and all of these, they don't come under this new system of recycling. So their cardboard and everything is just gonna be binned and shelved however they see fit. And if it's cheaper for them to just landfill it, that's what they're gonna do. So this EPR taken over by Circular Materials strictly deals with residential only, province-wide.
Through the chair, correct. Recycle will be 100% Circular Materials for residential. Through our bylaw, those businesses already are managing their recyclable materials as they deem fit. The businesses that we do service currently, it's not all businesses, it's only a handful of them.
Yeah.
And those businesses tend to be the smaller locations that, you know, don't accumulate a lot of waste.
So just something that'll come up at our next Alberta Munis conference about.
Yeah.
Why are the business not being held to account? So nope, it's all good. Thank you.
So businesses will have to get like their own, like we'll have to hire a local recycling company.
Correct.
Okay. And garbage. Okay, thank you. Counselor Gordon? Counselor Hollander?
Yeah, just on the bottom of 181, you mentioned that they pick up soft plastics. But plastic bags and stuff, we've never picked up. That hasn't changed, has it?
No, that has not changed. Through the chair, soft plastics, I'm just using the term or the reference from the EPR site. And I don't believe that necessarily means plastic bags. I think that just certain plastics are rated or classified as soft.
Okay. The other question I have, like, I know you can sign up. I like it on my phone. I get texts from the town, if like stuff closes or what other things. Is it possible with going to bi-weekly garbage that we can get a text or some sort of reminder? Is that an expensive thing? I don't know. If that notification thing that I sign up for, like it tells me that the arena's closed or whatever, is that an expensive or text free? Could we come up with a system that reminds, like, I know like 5 years ago, whatever, when my first aid unis, I remember going to some somebody had an app for their town. I think it was McGrath.
Yeah.
Right, that they would send out alerts or whatever, but.
Don't forget
you know,
garbage day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cause I mean, I forget my garbage, like we're bi-weekly,
Oh, yeah.
we've been bi-weekly with my brain for years, cause I always forget at least every other week.
Daddy or something, let's make that.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering if we already had the system in place that you could just sign up to get notified for Diamond Valley West or Diamond Valley East notifications that it could come to should you want it.
I cannot answer that question directly, and I will pass it on to Monique if I can. But in short, I am also applying removable stickers at the onset of the program.
Yeah.
Somewhat like what we did when we initiated the 3-stream service.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the chair. Yes, we are working on a couple of things. First of all, we do have the news alert, and that's what Councillor Holiday is referring to. So those that are signed up and registered, and we try to encourage that. It's currently already on the calendar, so that is the Canada Valley calendar on the website. And while it will mean that it will take more staff time, there's no additional cost for it. So we'll work on trying to get that, especially early days when the changes take effect. It's really important to use all means that we can to notify the public.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Counselor Gordon.
Yeah, if I may, I just Googled really quickly in EPR what soft plastics are. So they actually are plastic bags, food wrappers, plastic film, pouches, and flexible packaging that is used in regular life.
I thought you could put the plastic films in.
That's a change with EPR.
Wonderful.
Yeah, if we can get that looked into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kelly had his hand up a minute
Oh,
ago.
Counselor Kelly, please.
No, thanks, Verna. I think Monique answered the question, I think is best at this point. Communication is going to be the biggest piece here. We've got a lot of snowbirds down south. You know, it'd be interesting to see, you know, the data available on how many people use the calendar. I think Councillor Holiday asked that question at our last meeting, potentially at the COW. You know, tracking mechanisms to see who accesses that calendar. This is a big change for our community, just like the 3-streams was. But instead of adding more services, we're eliminating a service once a week. So I think we're really going to need to be on top of this, and I definitely think mid-May we're going to be hearing about this. But I appreciate Monique and her team and everything that administration's done to this point. But we're going to have to be ready to go here when this launches May 1st. Thanks.
Anybody else have any more questions for Craig? Or administration? No? Thank you very much, Craig. That's a good report. So I guess we can move on to item number 15 and adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
At 11:14.